Hey YouTube. Basically what I'm going to do, I have this casting here. It was originally painted. It's got a lot of imperfections on the surface you can kind of see in here. And so what I want to do is polish this up and leave it not painted, sort of similar to some other pieces that I have that are going to go on this mill. This part is from a Bridgeport mill, and this is the bull gear housing. And so this part sits on the outside. This is a part of the air intake that goes up over the belt and the motors and all that. Anyways, you can see from this casting there's some mark off still from the casting tools. It's like an uneven, kind of a sandy looking surface. So what I'm going to do before I start polishing this thing is I'm going to try to knock down some of this uneven, this grainy structure here. So I've already started to do that. I got told a long time ago never to sand aluminum, but really what you're doing when you polish is you're taking the molecules of material here and flattening them out so that they're all even. So the high spots and the low spots, when you buff it, you're just removing material with your rouge at a very small rate. You continue to do that and then fill it with wax and so on until everything flattens out and becomes shiny. So you can kind of see all the stuff, the grain in here. The stuff you can see is one thing, but then down like almost at a molecular level there's a lot of uneven pits and so on, and that's what's stealing the luster of this this material here. So I have some sandpaper that I'm going to use. I'm going to use very, very high grain sandpaper. So this sheet here is 800 grit. I got 1,000 grit and let's see what this is, 1,500 grit. I have another piece walking around here somewhere. So there's a couple ways you could do this. I've already started on this side. You can see I really like straighten this out. And I've gotten rid of a lot of that texturing that you see on the surface. Once I get it down to like maybe 600 or better grit polish, you can pretty much buff it out with a wheel and it'll look good. But the finer you go, the better, and the more prep you do up front in kind of leveling things out, the better it'll polish out. So I'm gonna start at like a 600 grain, try to knock that down, then I'm gonna move up to 800. And really what you're doing is you're gonna knock it down, and then you're gonna progressively increase in the grain on your sandpaper until you get all the scratches out to the degree that you could barely pick up the sandpaper scratches. So you can see, like on this side, if I kind of look at it from some angles, you can see like directional marks from the sanding. You really want to try to get rid of that to the extent possible. Like I said, I could take what I have here right now and then just start the buffing process, and it'll work its way out. But yeah, you can see like right around here and right around here, there's like 3 or 4 different directions. And so one of the things that helps to do is try sand in the same direction to the extent possible. Sometimes you have to change, like if there's a lot of weird contour. All right, so there's several ways to do this. What you don't want to do is just take raw sandpaper and then just go at it on the surface, because it'll leave a lot of scratch marks. The more scratch marks you have, that affects your shine and your polish at the end. So there's a couple ways to do it. Usually, one way to do it is you can mix like several drops or maybe a squirt of palm olive in a spray bottle and then top it off with water, or top it off with water and then put the palm olive in and shake it up. And what that does, and you spray it on, and it creates like kind of a slippery surface, and it allows the sandpaper to glide across the surface without digging in super deep. And so it just kind of takes the material down, and then it doesn't leave like deep gouges in the material. That's what you don't want. So anyway, so that's one way to do it. Another way that I use is I got my handy dandy WD-40 sprayer here. I know somebody's going to tell me this is a stupid idea. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is something I tried a few days ago and it worked out pretty good. It works about as good as the palm olive trick. The only difference is it leaves an oily residue on the part at the end. Now you can come back, obviously, you see I got acetone. I use that for, it's pretty much my solvent of choice. I know there's many reasons why you don't want to use acetone, but I like it because it cleans off whatever you got on your surface and then it evaporates to and doesn't leave any film. So that's why I like to use it. But anyway, so what I do is I just spray the surface with WD-40 like I'm doing right now. And then I'll blast my paper. Let me see which one I want to use. This 800 grit right here probably. Here's an old one. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but I think this is like maybe an 800 grit. But yeah, I'm gonna use this one. This one's kind of loaded. Over time, your paper gets loaded up, and then a lot of the media on the paper, the adhesive that's holding it on fails, and then you just wind up with a sparse amount of grit on the paper. And so anyway, I'm gonna fold this over and use it and lightly sand until I can kind of barely see this texturing here on the surface. I'll show you what I get. All right, this is kind of the result of what we're talking about. I mean, I still have some pitting that's visible. There's some issues, like there's one right there. You can kind of see it pretty good, where that is a pretty deep inclusion or whatever. But I mean, you're not gonna get it perfect, and if you do, you're probably gonna wind up taking too much material off. So just get it good enough. You just want it to kind of shine on the sun a little bit. And then make sure you don't have any like deep scratches. Because what happens is you basically, okay, see these, let me try to find one. I mean, you can kind of see some pitting up in here. But so you have the height of the base material, then you have the pits that they go down into a valley. And so really when you get on the buffing wheel, what it'll do is blend those two surfaces together and make it fairly shiny, and so that's all you really want. So I'm gonna get out my buffing wheel here. There you go. I use this all the time. And some rouge. I got another video on how to do this part, and so I'll leave a link for that. But when I get done with this polishing job here, I'll click back over and show you the result. Okay, I just got done buffing this guy. You can see the new finish here. It's shiny as a bell, basically. You can still see like some of the casting mark off. You can see some of these grain lines right here on the side. And you see that right here by my thumb. And then also there's some kind of porous areas on here where you could see the casting mark off. It's like pits or whatever. But I mean, it looks pretty good. I probably spent maybe an hour doing this. Obviously, if you spent more time sanding out the pits and the little deep spots, so here's some. But yeah, if you spend a little bit more time sanding and buffing, you can get this to a mirror finish. I'm not gonna bother. I'm gonna leave it just like this. It's going on a milling machine, so it doesn't need to be ridiculous. It's still shiny, so I'm fairly happy with it. And worst case scenario, if it starts to bother me, I can get out my buffer again and hit it a couple more times. Anyway, this is what you get. Like I said, really high gauge sandpaper to take a lot of that casting mark off, and then hit it with the buffing wheel, and you can shine her up. All right, thanks for watching, and hit subscribe.